Good evening. The battle for Secret Harbour has found a new weapon of choice, with old podcasts coming back to haunt candidates.
Just a day after Labor's Georgia Tree was forced to defend her skeleton in the closet comments, One Nation's Luke Hertigan has been asked to please explain. Jeff Parry has this exclusive report.
Luke Hertigan owns 5 gyms. His interest in physical fitness will come as no surprise. In a September 2023 podcast, Mr Hertigan also revealed he's a big fan of UFC.
I felt like fighting quite recently. It's just like, I've just got this desire to almost get in a cage and fight someone, you know what I mean? I'm making it more heroic than what it is. I'd obviously be scared, shitting myself. It's obviously a pretty nervous thing to endeavour, but I think we crave it. I think I crave it.
It's a new insight into the man who could win One Nation's first lower house seat in WA's Parliament. He also made comments on Darwinism and natural selection.
It's the number one thing that males do, and we still do it with each other. It's now we've found other ways to have these competitions with each other without having to be as violent as what we may have been in the past. But males, I think we still crave that.
Mr Hertigan told 7 News that at the time he made the comments he was training in Muay Thai boxing and he does not advocate violence. Yesterday his opponent Georgia Tree was defending a podcast she recorded 5 years ago when she said Labor had skeletons in its closet regarding sexual harassment. In another round of tit for tat, Labor has gone on the attack, claiming Luke Hertigan has refused to participate in a candidates debate proposed by Georgia Tree.
Why is he running scared for a debate with Georgia Tree? He's gutless. He's a chicken.
If you want a debate, you go to the other parties, you send an email, you're saying, look, this is what we want to do. We want to do a debate. This is how we want to run it. This is who's going to hold it. They haven't even attempted to do that.
The Liberals have little likelihood of winning the seat, but neither are they bystanders. Their preferences could help One Nation. Accused of going soft on the One Nation candidate.
Well, that's what you guys are here for. I'll let you guys be critical of who you need to be critical of. Thank you.
Jeff Parry, 7 News.
The tide has finally turned in Lancelin. After years of battling to stop beach erosion, residents have just been thrown a lifeline.
At long last, the government's agreed to build a rock wall that will protect the town for at least 5 years.
A lifeline to help this coastal town from being swallowed by the sea. After months of rallying and demanding urgent action, an announcement Lancelin locals have been longing for.
It's definitely a relief. I'm just, thankful that we've finally got some traction.
Lancelin has been eroding at a record rate. Sandbags can no longer keep up.
Everybody knows erosion happens up and down the coast, but for it to happen at that, that speed, that ferocity is something that's got everybody puzzled.
Now, after months of locals begging for help, the state government is stepping in. Its solution, a 110-metre long, 4.5-metre high temporary rock wall, costing $1.1 million.
No solution is perfect, but all the advice is this is a very good solution. But my message to the community is we're taking this issue very seriously.
It will protect the town for 5 years.
This is, I think, a major win for the pub, the caravan park, the local community.
I think it's fantastic. It was a little bit disappointing that it took so long for them to turn around and act, but however they have now.
Over the past year and a half, 55 metres of shoreline has crumbled. Locals hope the temporary rock wall will buy them enough time to find a long-term solution.
It will take some time, but ultimately we're very clear this will be done before the next critical winter season.
Work will start in December. Asha Gibbon, 7 News.
Tonight, WA households will help paint a new picture of who we are by filling out the census. It's the once every 5-year count that shows where Perth is growing and where money needs to be spent next. But as Sam Haberland explains, some communities feel like they've been forgotten.
When the first Australian census took place in 1911, these Manoora retirees weren't even born.
Census Day is here, boys, Census Day is here.
But their entire lives have been shaped by it.
I used to work in a bank, so the data was used to determine where branches were, and it's probably used now to determine where they close them.
The questions have changed, but the importance of the information is still just as vital.
We've also been involved in collecting the census.
We've both been employed by...
Yeah, I was in Joondalup.
Yes, knocking on doors.
It's a huge job every 5 years and doesn't always go to plan. Just ask the town of York. Their census letters missing in action.
Did you get your census instructions in the mail?
No, we didn't. I've spoken to a lot of people here in York that haven't received anything at all either.
As far as the paperwork, we haven't seen any.
Take the Schultz defence, I know nothing.
There has been enough reports for us to be concerned.
Council staff working overtime to help make sure the town's counted.
We're sitting at around the 4,000 mark, confirmed by the previous census. I'd love to get an accurate figure this year.
The census provides a critical snapshot of our city's growth and where people choose to live. Perth up by almost 360,000 in a decade. And it's our outer suburbs booming the fastest, led by Baldivis in our south, Alkimos, Eglinton north of the river, and Piara Waters, Forestdale in the city's east. The information helps decision makers work out where we need vital infrastructure like schools and hospitals. Ultimately, Perth's future planning. Australians haven't exactly waited until the last minute. In fact, by this morning, 5 million households had already completed the questionnaire well before tonight's official snapshot. And for those that missed the deadline, this census could be a costly one.
It is a mandatory collection, and that's because it's a really important collection. If they refuse to participate, there's a fine of around $364 a day.
After tonight, the number crunching begins. The first answers as to who we are as a city and nation today, only to be released in June next year. Sam Haberland, 7 News.
The Reserve Bank may have kept interest rates on hold today, but it's still delivered another sickening blow to home buyers.
It's predicting inflation will remain high until the end of next year, meaning brutal mortgage repayments will continue to ravage family budgets for the next 18 months.
Trolleys full of relief.
The luxuries that we might have had last year are slipping away, but it is what it is.
You know, the petrol prices, power, everything else keeps going up and up.
Today, one thing remains steady.
There it is. As predicted, rates are on hold.
The cash rate unchanged at 4.35%. Concerns, though, inflation is still too high and won't be back in the RBA's target range until late next year.
The board will raise interest rates further if that is what is required to bring inflation down in a timely way.
Inflation has now moderated for 3 months in a row, but it is still higher than we'd like. There's still a lot of uncertainty going forward.
Uncertainty around oil, a tight labour market, 3 rate hikes and policy changes cooling a housing market, heating up this House.
Who argued that interest rates were too low?
The member for Goldstein will leave the chamber.
Kicked out before putting the boot in.
The Albanese government's plan has continued to be to stoke inflation, to tax inflation, to then spend inflation.
One of the big four revising its forecast made just 2 months ago. ANZ taking a knife to house prices, now predicting deeper declines closer to 15%. Sydney leading the slump, down 14.5% over this year and next. Melbourne almost 13%. More modest drops for Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide, with a recovery not expected until 2028.
It looks scary when you just look at your own house and its value dropping by itself, but you've got to put it in the context of the broader market.
The board didn't discuss a rate cut. We're told not to expect one this year. Jacqueline Robson, 7 News.
Federal authorities have moved to crush Perth's tobacco cartels, targeting a major independent service station chain accused of selling illegal cigarettes. And Canberra has made it clear it's not satisfied with tackling small cigarette shops, promising to go after the bigwigs.
At Metro Fuel today,
we'll give you permission to film.
Australia's tobacco wars mixing fuel with fury.
My tripod!
Nationwide raids on Australia's biggest independent service station network, where the allegations are damning.
Over 100 service stations are suspected of some involvement in the illicit tobacco trade.
Raids from coast to coast are the biggest single strike on the market to date. 5 states and the ACT.
Hundreds of officers from the Australian Border Force, the Australian Federal Police.
They pounced this morning, shutting down driveways, blocking off entrances, then scouring stockrooms, cupboards, cabinets and drawers.
We'll now go through that investigation, have a look at the evidence.
But already confirmation of seizures at least some sites which have been locked up and shut down.
Across the country there have been closures.
Metro is owned by brothers John and George Dibb. From the company Tonight, Metro has a zero-tolerance approach to the sale of illicit tobacco and vaping products. Each site is run by an independent operator that is a separate legal entity from Metro.
When you can pay for a similar product 3 to 4 times less by going into an illegal outlet, then the temptation for individuals and the temptation for companies to do that becomes pretty significant.
We're coming after you to disrupt the supply chain at every point.
Clementine Cuneo, 7 News.
7 News can reveal tonight a global climate summit held in Fiji will be paid for by Australian taxpayers. Our government has agreed to foot the entire bill, coughing up tens of millions of dollars. And worse still, major world leaders aren't even likely to turn up.
A pre-COP meeting in Fiji, and Australian taxpayers are copping the bill.
Chris Bowen is spending over $20 million of taxpayers' money planning and broadcasting his own inauguration.
The Energy Minister, co-president for negotiations for COP31 in Turkey, committing Australian taxpayers to picking up the full tab for planning, running and broadcasting the climate change meeting in October, because host country Fiji can't afford it.
I mean, Chris Bowen has serious questions to answer here.
Oz tender documents obtained by 7 News revealing taxpayers are being quietly billed $17.2 million for event management and another $2 million for broadcasting services so the meeting can be seen around the world.
And this is just his ego way out of control at the expense of people suffering energy hardship in Australia.
Well, it's a really significant event and we're making that investment because of how important it is to our future.
Taxpayers have forked out another $2 million to reserve several Fijian resort hotels, though much of that is expected to be recovered when attendees pay for their own rooms. The $20 million, just a slice of the $150 million taxpayers will be billed in total to pay for Chris Bowen's role. A sensible investment, says the government, in supporting our Pacific neighbours.
Our relationships with the countries of our region is fundamental to the peace and stability of the Indo-Pacific.
Billed as a critical meeting for the Pacific, Mr Bowen has invited world leaders including US President Donald Trump, China's Xi Jinping, France's Emmanuel Macron, Japan's Sanai Takaichi and new British Prime Minister Andy Burnham. So far, not one is coming.
It's embarrassing every which way you look.
The coalition won't miss an opportunity to pull Australia down.
Copping it over COP.
And let's go now to political editor Mark Riley. Mark, the government says this is value for money, is it?
Tim, $150 million is a lot of money to spend preparing for a meeting that you're not even hosting, so taxpayers are right to demand they get a lot of value for that money. The Pacific has long been regarded as the front line of the climate challenge, so it does make sense to bring leaders here. But with so much going on in the world with wars and natural disasters and cost of living crunches in their own countries, it seems most, if not all, the big name leaders don't see the value in attending at all. And unless that changes in coming weeks, Chris Bowen will be left defending an expensive Fijian flop. Ange.
Thanks for that, Mark. A bitter battle over a popular Perth cafe is heading back to the Supreme Court. The owner fears he'll burn through $200,000 in legal fees. But his neighbours aren't budging, insisting the deli should never have been given the green light by the council.
Sidepiece Deli is no stranger to neighbourly objection. This was March, a disgruntled Swanbourne local trespassing after hours.
No, it's not criminal damage to this property, it's criminal damage to John's property.
The stunt landing Ian Satchwell in court, but the bitter feud isn't over. The cafe's owner claims he's now staring down almost $200,000 in legal fees over another court matter.
It's very stressful, and it's not just stress on myself, it's also stress on the team itself.
The same neighbour, Ian, is at the centre of this one too, this time in the Supreme Court. Ian claims the town of Claremont should never have approved this type of business in the first place.
If we don't support the town of Claremont in this battle, there's the potential that this venue does shut down.
Side piece dividing locals since opening its doors in August last year.
Well, I call it a daytime nightclub. It's been a bit of a nightmare. There's a lot of knock-on stuff like parking, traffic. They all sit on the footpath and that out the front. They run a light industrial kitchen as well because they're cooking for their other outlets.
The battle over side piece may be dividing locals, but the cafe says plenty of people are in its corner. Some have even offered to chip in and help crowdfund the legal fight.
They've worked really hard, obviously, to build it up. It'd be a shame to shut it down.
Ian Satchwell told us today he couldn't comment as the matter is before the court. The same from the town of Claremont. The case back on Friday.
You're a small business owner and all you want to do is sell great coffee. And to go through something like this, no one should ever go through.
A fight over flat whites that's still brewing. Brianna in Ferreira, 7 News.